Hey guys, welcome back. It's good to be in front of you again. I'm excited to get another opportunity to speak with you. Just want to let you know about a couple of things coming up. One is this Sunday, we have our Family Trivia Challenge. It's going to be at 4 p.m., and that is going to be a contest between families of faith youth and faith kids. We're going to test your trivia knowledge and compete against one another for prizes. So we hope that you will join us for that. We sent out a link to your parents in the email that we send out, letting them know how to register for that and how to access that on Sunday. So we hope that you will join us. Also want to remind you to be checking out our Instagram page at faith.tulsa.youth. Wyatt has been posting up all sorts of interesting memes and some other content for you guys to interact with, so we hope that you're checking that out. And it's also a great place to find out information about our upcoming events. And then I also want to remind you, join us on Wednesday nights for small groups on Zoom at 7 p.m. We're doing those every Wednesday, and we really love having you guys on there. It's a great opportunity. Something new that we're going to be doing over the next couple weeks is during your small groups, we're going to be asking you and your small group leaders to be writing letters to some of the people in our congregation who are homebound, who just need to hear from somebody, letting them know that they care about them and love them. So we're going to give you guys an opportunity to do that over the next few weeks. Do you remember when you were a little kid, or maybe a slightly younger kid than you are now, and you had a favorite toy? That toy that you just took with you everywhere, that toy that you thought to yourself, I'm always going to love this toy. For me, that was Wrinkles. Wrinkles was my childhood favorite toy that I took with me everywhere, and I loved Wrinkles, and I remember thinking to myself, Wrinkles, you and I are always going to be best friends. I'm always going to play with you. And then reality sets in, and you grow up, and you want newer and better toys, right? I fell in love with Transformers and Legos and Hot Wheels, all these incredible fancy toys that could do really, really cool things. And eventually I got bored with those and started to like things like video games and musical equipment. And there was always something better out there. There was always something that I thought, wow, if I could just get that thing, I would have so much more fun. If I could just get the new iPhone, my life would be better. If I could just get a new car, my life would be better. If I could just get a new house, my life would be better. I've noticed that even into my adult life, I still live this way. I always want the newest and the greatest. What I have seems like something I'm going to love forever until I see what's next, until I discover the next best thing. And I feel this urge to always strive for growth in what I have. And this idea reminds me of a story from the Bible. It's a story that Jesus tells in the form of a parable in the Gospel of Luke. You've heard it referred to as the Prodigal Son. It's also called the parable of the lost son. But basically in this story, there's two sons. One son decides that he would like to ask his father for his inheritance. Now, your inheritance is something that you get from your parents when your parents die. It's the money that they leave behind to you. So by asking his father for his inheritance while his father is still living, he's basically saying, Dad, you're dead to me. I want what you're worth now so I can go off and spend it. And so the dad, being a loving father, agrees and gives his son half of the inheritance and sends him on his way. The other son stays behind, remains faithful to his father, continues to work for him, and continues to treat his dad as if he is alive and treat him as if he loves him. So the son who takes the money, who's referred to as the prodigal son in this story, goes off and spends it. He buys lavish things. He tries to live his best life. He tries to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, finding different opportunities and places to further himself and have fun. And what he eventually does is spend all the money to the point of he's having to sleep amongst pigs. And he starts to realize that he wants to eat the food that these pigs are eating. And he has this realization that even the servants that probably still work for his father are being treated better than this. So he decides he's going to go back to his dad, beg for his father's forgiveness, and ask if he could just be a servant. And when he returns, he's surprised to be greeted by his father with a warm embrace, and his father decides to throw him a party, saying, "My son who was lost has now been found." And the brother who stays behind becomes angry by this, saying to the father, "I've worked for you for all these years. I've been faithful. I didn't go off and spend all this money, and yet you've never thrown me this big party. Why are we doing this for him?" And the father explains that his son was dead and now is alive. And this is a great celebration, a great joy that needs to be lifted up in their family. And that's the end of the story. Jesus used this as a story to teach a lesson to the Pharisees. But for us, even 2,000 years later, there's so many great things we can take from this story. And I've always envisioned myself as the brother who stayed, the one who was faithful, the one who used his time wisely, the one who worked hard for what he had. Maybe not so much the jealous portions of the brother at the end of the story where he's mad that a party wasn't thrown for him, but I've always viewed myself more closely related to that brother. But as I've been looking back on my life in this time of quarantine, I've had a lot of opportunity to reflect about what my priorities were. And I started to notice that in many ways, I was the prodigal son. The definition of prodigal is this: spending money or resources freely and recklessly, or wastefully extravagant. I realized that in many ways, I was being prodigal not only with my money, but with my time. I was always striving for the next best thing, right? I was always pushing and working for the American dream of having the nicer house and the nicer car and having the opportunities for my family to go on vacations and to do all these fun things that cost money, things I thought that we had to do in order to be successful, in order to feel like we had value and worth. I was also prodigal with my time by not using it wisely, right? I never realized how many great opportunities I had to be putting energy into things, and I just never did. I imagine for you guys, looking back on school, it was one of those things that at the time, school seemed like such a burden and such a waste of your time, but now it probably seems like such a great opportunity that you miss, something that was important and added value to your life, something that educated you and gave you purpose. Now that our opportunities are limited, I'm realizing how many things I missed out on when I had the freedom to do them. I'm sad that it took a quarantine for me to take the opportunity to get back in touch with some of my good friends from college. I'm sad that it took all of this for me to realize how much I missed doing things like drawing or recording music. I missed out on so many opportunities because I was just too busy trying to get the next best thing and not focusing on all the incredible things that were right before me. There's a scripture I really like that comes from the book of Ephesians that I want to read. It's Ephesians 5:15 through 17, and it says this: "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is." This scripture reminds us to be wise about how we spend our time. And my hope is that when we get to return back to some semblance of normal here in the future, that we could have a better sense of how we should be spending our time. And we could put energy into the things that do actually add value to our lives and stop putting energy into things that don't actually give us any purpose or worth. So my challenge for you this week is I want you to start to assess, what are the things in your life that truly are important? What are the things in your life that are truly adding value? The sports and organizations that you're a part of, band, are those things adding value to your life? Are they things that actually are important to you? Or are they things that are draining your time away from other things? You need to assess what value and worth those add to your life and make sure that you're actually spending your time on things that you care about and things that give you purpose. I want to encourage you all to look at ways in your life that you're being prodigal, not using your time or your resources as best as you can. And let's figure out ways that we can better use those things. Figure out ways that we can put our time and our energy and our money into things that have value and purpose. So thank you guys for tuning in. Always a pleasure to be in front of you, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Bye.